What's up, hobby friends? My name is Casey and this is eBay Miniature Rescues. Today, we're going to fix up and paint a Dankhold Troggoth from Warhammer Age of Sigmar. I've had this Troggoth for quite some time now. It's been on my shelf waiting for the day when I finally decide to pick it up and paint it. Well, today is that day. Let's start by filling the gaps in the model, sanding everything down, and getting it ready for paint. Once the gaps have been filled and the Milliput is dry, I can make a base for this guy. I start with cork and build up a nice rocky formation, then add a few other rocks and finally some sand to bring in that texture to the base. Priming will be a little different than normal for me. I'm going to use Stynylrez Gray so that the shadows aren't going to be pure black. Then I'll follow that up with a zenithal of white from the top. I want this model to be bright and fun. Having a bright prime to work off of will really lend itself to some nice vibrant colors. When it comes to vibrant colors, I like to use golden high flow acrylics. They're super thin, but highly pigmented. Using them through the airbrush will give us a nice transparent layer of very bright colors. Starting with purple, I'm going to lay this down over most of the body. This will be the main color for the skin. Then using blue, I'll push the shadows. Because the paint is really thin, it blends really well with the other colors and doesn't leave any speckling. To punch up the purple in the highlights, I'm opting for fluorescent pink. When used lightly, it brings a vibrancy to the purple, and with more layers, the color really starts to come through. Finally, a little bit of green on the base and the stone hammer, just to bring in some color to the rocks. Dwarf skin will desaturate some of the color, but it will also bring out a nice skin tone that works well with the rest of the colors. Spraying this from above the model will also pick up quite a lot of the raised detail giving us an idea where we need to focus our attention for the brushwork. In order to bring the colors together and put more contrast into the model, I'm going to use two different oil washes. For the most part, the model will be covered with purple, but for some of the areas that have more pink flesh tone, I mixed up some red with a hint of gray to bring out those details. It's pretty subtle, but it gives the model even more variety and depth in color. After the washes have begun to dry, I'm going to take some Q-tips to clean away any excess from the flat areas. This will bring our color back on the highlights while leaving the wash in all of the deeper recesses. I really like how the base looks. A little bit of green gives it a nice Gloomspite look. To push that a little further, I'm going to use some Vallejo pigment powder to make it super dirty. I also use some pigment fixer to wet all of this down when it's done, so it blends a little bit better with the green rocks and won't go anywhere. Let's start to bring out some details and highlights on the skin. Starting with Kislev flesh, I want to bring out a lot of the details. This model has a ton of little cuts and ridges all over it, so I do my best to pick everything out. As I work towards the top of the head, I start adding a little bit of pallid witch flesh to bring that highlight up even more. When I near areas that are slightly in between the tan and purple, I add a little bit more of that purple to match. And finally, a really light dry brush with Kislev flesh is to pick up anything that I missed. Xandri dust to take care of the loincloth and ropes. I also mixed in a little bit of white and hit the fingernails. For the hammer, I decided to wet blend an orange brown on top of a darker brown. The orange plays off of the purples really well and gives the wood a pretty nice look. There are really only a little bit of metallics on this model. I opted for copper for the same reason the wood has a little orange in it. Especially right in the middle of the body, it will add some warmth and give us a little more contrast overall. I started by base coating with copper, then mixing in some rhinox hide for the shadows. Once that dried, I hit it with some verdigris and finally highlighted it all with some aluminum. This is an awesome combination. Even if you don't have these colors, anything close will give you a pretty nice look for weathered copper. Agrax Earthshade for the wood, ropes, and rocks. This will darken everything down a little bit and bring out the details. After that dries, I'll highlight back up with the base coat colors and add a little bit of white. And finally, dry brushing the rock with some white will highlight the sharp edges and the rope. Kind of a nice 2-for-1. So here we are, the first weekend in Orktober, and I haven't even painted an orc yet. The Dankhold Troggoth is orc adjacent, and I honestly just wanted to paint something that would be bright and fun. This model is really well sculpted, lending itself to a lot of fun techniques. In particular, I think that airbrush blending and wet blending are fantastic uses for this model. And there are so many directions you can go as far as color. Anyways, thanks again for joining me on another miniature rescue. If you like something about this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Once again, I'm Casey, and I will see you in the next video.